here as we go into week number 4. EDG on blue, TT on red, and remember that a lot of the LPL teams have been prioritizing AD carry first pick or that Olaf. Olaf is now banned alongside Pantheon. We'll see if EDG want to set Viper up.
A lot of jungle bans being thrown right here, and I think Kai'Sa is the absolute go-to first pick. Kai'Sa, she's just so good as a hyper carry and at a 2-item ADC, so we've been seeing teams take her all over the time, and both in LCK and LPL, this is your most picked AD carry.
Yeah, even LEC striving towards it, right? You know, we've seen a bit more diversity there, but it still remains true as the S-tier pick. TT now, the option could be clear if they want to set up, because Thresh normally banned on the blue side as a final support pick, but you may have given over the Aphelios if they want to partner it up now.
Yeah, we have seen Teeen actually pivot towards the Thresh without the Aphelios as well. This is his best champion. We have seen a lot of teams actually just ban the Thresh away from him, but he's feeling confident. He wants to set something up here, and I wouldn't be too surprised if it's the Aphelios. That's definitely a go-to for them. And something that we have seen in the LCK that people really like taking up against the Kai'Sa, you can shove the lane in early and continue that momentum into the middle of the game.
Really strong 2v2. Even when Aphelios was stronger, it was just like the perfect partner lane. Jiejie going to take away the Lilia in case Xiaofeng was thinking about it. So now we have a bit of engaged, a lot of CC lockdown with the Lilting Lullaby comboed with the Showstopper.
I really like the set here as well. It's one of the strongest lanes against Thresh. We have seen just level 1 flash-ins. You get both of the Aphelios and Thresh. Neither of these have escapes early on. It's very easy to force flashes out of this combination, and I do believe Meiko will be going for that one. However, we did see TT actually hover a Udyr. I'm not going to go for it, unfortunately. Going to go for the Hecarim. This is kind of interesting because the Hecarim hasn't been doing very well in the LPL. You need a lot of farm. You are looking at either Divine Sunder or Triforce, which requires quite a bit of gold to actually hit early on. And there has been a sort of feast and famine dynamic going on with the Hecarim. So I want to see if TT can actually have the tools to enable Twila, enable Xiaofeng to get his farm.
And at least, you know, for Xiaofeng, the ability to maybe hit bot. We could talk about the lane dynamics and how he pressures the bottom lane as we round these drafts out. Because remember, we did talk about the focus for SamD and Teeen coming into this series. I actually think TT Teeen is going to be quite annoying as we get into this one as well. Twila deserving the respect ban from EDG. We saw him hover it before. Zilean is one of his great traits in the LPL, and the response for TT, we'll see in a moment after the Camille.
I like the Zilean ban just because it actually slots very well into TT's comp. You have a hyper carry already, and Aphelios typically has been going for GA, as we've seen in the later phases of the game. You can also put bombs onto the pony and just have him deliver it into the middle of the enemy team comp. So it might seem like kind of an off-meta ban, but it's definitely very warranted against Twila.
Yeah, he has another kind of pocket pick in Lulu too, but doesn't deserve the same amount of respect as we've seen his Zilean hit montage play after montage play, and they decide they don't want any global pressure added to it. So Galio gone, and Twila, he's a control mage player, and we'll lock in the Orianna.
Yeah, this is what I didn't really want to see out of TT. We have seen a lot of teams try to play Orianna plus Hecarim combo, but it's never really worked, and the main reason for me is that both of these champions require a lot of farm. They're much more about scaling up into their comfortable phases of the game. So even though the combo looks incredible, you have the unstoppable on the Shadow of Onslaught, you really give a lot away in the early game to make that work. And as TT, you already have a pretty weak laning phase, so it's going to be about survival for TT in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's also coordination, right? The devastating charge separates opponents from each other. Shockwave timing on top of the horse is so crucial, especially when you fear and the enemies run away from that ultimate, that onslaught of shadows. So a lot of key interactions that we can talk about as we go into this game. Clement, we got a pretty standard team fighting comp, I guess you could say, from EDG. Scout running into his Azir, which he's played many times before.
Yeah, we have talked a lot about blind pick Gnar, and we're generally unfavorable for this. But against Chelizi, I don't think you're going to get punished at all. Chelizi is pretty much just the tank player. I would actually rank him as probably very, very far down onto one of the bottom top laners in the LPL. But this time, he's showing some fight. He's using that last pick to get an Aurelia into this matchup. Interesting.
Now, the reason we rank this top laner low is because, remember, he was on the side of Vici Gaming. Chelizi was unimpactful. He went back down into the LDL and was replaced in the end. I believe Cube came up and took his position, and as well as EDG. But for TT, Clement, walk me through this comp a little bit more, because we have a lot of scaling elements across the board.
So TT do have a pretty good 4-1 dynamic going on. They have great wave clear with Orianna and Aphelios, and if they can get Aurelia going in a side lane, just split pushing, then they can sit and just continue to scale. And if they go into the late game, I do think they have a very, very good teamfight composition. So that's kind of their game plan. It is relying a lot on the top lane being ahead in order for them to, keep the side lanes open and keep their scaling going on. But if they can manage, that's a good strategy. On EDG side, I think we're seeing something that is pretty stock and standard over here. We have the Azir, which is something that Scout has been going for in this new season. He's actually very slow pace this season, even though he is an assassin player. He does just set up range for that Kai'Sa, and they're just going to go look for front to back. They're going to be a 5v5 team. And the main thing about their team is the initiation. Can they actually find the backline? Can they actually survive the first burst combo coming in from Xiaofeng and Twila? If they can do that and actually get enough engage onto SamD, then they're good.
Yep, but if they engage and they miss, I mean, to get out, Scout's pretty much the only one who can kind of leave the situation, right? So once they're in, it feels like EDG are in. Into this series, into this game, we'll find out. Game 1 about to head onto your screens. TT, a team right now who kind of struggling to leave an impact in the LPL, while for EDG, they are looking like one of the best. People hype this roster up, and it is performing, and performing pretty damn well. TT's got a bit of a journey ahead of them if they want to sneak out a win in this first game.
Unfortunately, we aren't going to be having the Jiejie this time around, so we can go straight into the level 1 section of the game. I really like what EDG are doing right here. We have talked about Aurelia's level 1s, early levels against Gnar, which are incredibly deadly. She can all-in you at level 2 and pretty reliably blow a flash if she is able to land that flawless duet. Taking a look at her rune choices right here, we do see the Conquerors, pretty standard stuff, and we just have to pay very, very close attention towards that top side. If this gets out of hand for Flandre early, we could see a surprising amount of pressure coming out from TT.
Because remember, you've talked about it, Lyrics talked about it, I believe Dagda's talked about it as well, where the Nars we see in the LPL, a lot of the time it can be about that split push pressure, right? We see it in the builds. A lot more Nars are going towards Divine Sundra versus what we saw at the start, which was the Stride Breaker, which really wasn't working out.
Yeah, that was more of a teamfight option, and Chelizi going in immediately.
Yep.
One of the things about Aurelia that I think a lot of players find surprising, wait a minute, Meiko.
Yeah, look, Teeen is going to get ignited down. Meiko going aggressive. We've seen this so many times from set. Doesn't burn the flash. Meiko goes in with the level 1 face breaker, trying to hit 2 first so they can get the all-in the lane.
Yeah, you can't really react to a flash in coming in from the set with your Flay. The timings don't really work out, and a lot of times we have seen the set just picked into the Thresh. Now, to continue on my top lane tirade, because this is a lane I do play the most, one of the surprising things about Aurelia is that she does have a very, very long attack range, and she also has good good movement speed compared to ranged champions early. So you can just walk the Gnar down with your 200 attack range, and once you hit that Ionian Fervor, it's very deadly level 2, and a lot of times you are not going to see the Gnar even walk up to the wave to contest. They're just going to wait behind it and let the wave push into them.
Already building up. You can see the wave building up himself, rather. 5 CS in the lead for Chelizi. We already saw some of those good early trades. Remember, he's also on Corrupting Potion Biscuit, so there's a lot of sustain if he ever missteps. And it does feel like Chelizi trying to challenge himself in this first game. When we called him one of the weakest top laners in the league, that's what I love. Players challenging themselves. We'll see if he can go further and if Chelizi can continue winning this matchup. But Clement, walk me through a bit more of the early game as junglers are up towards his top side. Where does Xiaofeng look to impact, or is it just about diffusing any situation from Jiejie?
So I think the clear pathing that Xiaofeng is going to go for is probably he's going to go back to his bottom side and then head top. The top lane is pushing towards them. That should be fairly easy to set up. And if they get a 2v2 early here, they are 100% favored. There is no way that EDG will actually come out ahead on this 2v2. So that should be the expected route for Xiaofeng, just trying to make sure that his top lane split pusher is going to work out. And we are seeing Flandre kind of respect the fact that, hey, Xiaofeng could be very much be headed his way. He's going to back out early. He's not going to sit there with the top lane pushing in whatsoever. On the other side, I think for EDG, we are seeing that dynamic we talked about with the Orianna and Hecarim matchup is early game, they do get pushed in a lot. And even though you have a great combo, it's hard to survive to that point where you can actually pull your combo off. Yeah. Xiaofeng, with his pathing, is already down a buttload of CS. And if you look at Orianna Twila in the mid lane, he's also getting pushed in consistently. So, you know, the combo's great, the 5v5 is great, but you are putting yourself back on the back foot.
Yeah, you can already see that, you know, waiting for the gank in the bottom lane, Xiaofeng was very patient there, but Hook doesn't connect. It was Disappearance Act from Viper and Meiko. They waste a lot of Xiaofeng's time. Now he's back to his camps, but he's leveled down. He's so much CS down, as you just pointed out. And even the invade from Jiejie to take away Raptors, this is going to be a very big lead and cement the early game and the, you know, front to back in the first couple of these dragons that you're already talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a huge issue for them. Good on Xiaofeng, he does spot out the ward, so the pressure again is going to be mounting onto Flandre. But we have seen Flandre in these lanes. He's actually done incredibly well for himself. I think Flandre has been one of those players that I was so surprised about by his just change of style. Because when he was on LNG, he had to always play these split pushers. He was playing a lot of Aurelia and Jax himself, so he's no stranger to the matchup. But this split, he's been willing to blind pick everything. He's been blind pick Renekton. He's been blind pick Gnar. He's just saying, hey, you know what? Bottom lane, jungle, you guys need the counter picks a little bit more. I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb here. I'm just going to do my job in the team fights.
He was revitalized, he's moved to a new roster, wants to prove himself. Now against the 1v2, he's going to have to do exactly that. Good dodge away from the flawless duet. Chelizi doesn't have the Vanguard's edge yet either. I believe actually he ticks 6 as we move the camera away. So ult now in hand. Flandre gets to give him a turret shot as well, bops him down. Great trading, and look, Xiaofeng, another gank where he's trying to make something happen, but the wave not in favor, the laner not in favor, and he's just wasted more time.
I have to say, that was way too telegraphed from Chelizi. He missed his flawless duet, and the flawless duet was in a really weird position where he was going to take tower shots anyway. And you also have to remember, EDG just saw Xiaofeng on the ward on Raptors. So that was a very easy read from Flandre. He gets a very superb trade, and Jiejie actually just misses out on Xiaofeng. Interesting.
Yeah, Gromp timing a couple of seconds off as well. Jiejie walking back in, level advantage, so lilting Lullaby there. And even in the 1v1, this is going to feel very nice. You're going to spin to win a couple of times, and Xiaofeng gets bullied down. The sweet spot hit. Jiejie with the smite. No, it's secured by Xiaofeng, which was kind of a must-win, but the blue buff now forfeited with everyone moving.
Yeah, Kai'Sa has a large mobility advantage right here. She's able to arrive on the scene first, and they do steal away the blue buff, which just means that the mid lane push that we've been seeing from Azir against Orianna is going to get exacerbated, and Jiejie should have a lot more openings to just walk into Xiaofeng's jungle. This is the exact opposite of what we wanted to see out of Xiaofeng and Twila.
That's right. I mean, Xiaofeng had high expectations because he was the jungler that, again, you know, really tried to carry dominance in 2020 when they were at the bottom, when they had this inexperienced roster. Disappointing start, but, you know, let's not take the credit out until we get to round those fights, until we see how this mid-game transition works. Because for EDG right now, they have the leader, and this is where it's going to get difficult. We've got a 20-plus CS lead for Scout with the Comet Azir. Top lane as well is caught up, and Jiejie's having a great time. Xiaofeng's just trying to steal some things away. Scuttle's going to go into the brush. Xiaofeng now spotted out. Sleep not used yet, but Jiejie's still following. Devastating charge once more, goes back in. The Onslaught of Shadows is available. Lilting Lullaby there. He gets the fear off, but Jiejie kites away. Scout here as well. The command protect doesn't save his life. And first blood over to EDG with Twila now in a bad position. Flandre's coming in. The shockwave locks him down, and Scout will drop as well. Chelizi saving the day. He slowed down, knows there's no Lilting Lullaby. The flash from Flandre gets him out, and TT managed to get more than they thought.
Yep, so it ends up being a mid laner for jungle trade, which is definitely in favor of TT. I would take that trade any day of the week. Just looking at Teeen.
Okay, Teeen, yep, is going to die here. The ultimate used, and Sam D now in a weird position where he has Crescendum available, but Viper uses the Killer Instinct onto Sammy D. And Viper gets a kill. The bottom lane explodes, and EDG now in favor.
that was the most disgusting level 6 bait I've seen in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Meiko was sitting on level 5. He was baiting Teeen to go in onto him. And then in the nick of time, Viper finds the critical CS to tick him over to level 6. He gets the extra HP, he gets the extra ultimate, and he slams Teeen into the dirt.
Let's be honest, Teeen wasn't respecting as well that, you know, Meiko's experience, but I guess it's a hard thing to track, Clement. I don't know if I'm being too critical here, but it was, you know, not a great situation. And now you've just set up the bottom lane for EDG, the lane that continues to strive for success. They're 2,000 gold up, they got a Rift Herald too, and even that topside play, TT traded out, but this just puts them back into a bad deficit.
Yep, still a very strong position for EDG. They're up 2,000 gold, and they are most likely just going to start into the bottom lane. We are going to see Teeen.
Dark Passage over the wall. This time Teeen redeeming himself, waiting for the flay. He stops the shifting sands. You know what? Teeen, that's retribution. He's back on board.
What an amazing play coming out from him. Chelizi does find the stun here.
Does, but Flandre just kiting him back, has a bit of movement speed, gets hyper almost one more time, but the re-engage here from Chelizi. He's trying to bait it out. He knows there's no Vanguard's edge, and Flandre will just walk away.
Yeah, so we do have good things happening on the top side for TT, and with Scout down, that's going to be a free turret plating over there. And they also start the Drake stacking. So a lot of good things for TT, and Drake stacking is, I would say, more important on TT's side, just because they are behind in the early game, and they do need some comeback mechanics. They have drafted a very strong 5v5 composition where a lot of ultimates can be stacked up together. So, you know, this is a good sign for TT. They can definitely be the ones that are setting up for the next Drake as well. And if they get a critical team fight, they're straight back into the game.
You also mentioned, you know, the Orianna, the Hecarim need a lot of resources. It's just great to see that, you know, now they get a bit more of that time. We see the tier stacking with the Mercury trades to pay respect to the CC that EDG have. Also, you know, again, the Trinity falls for the Hecarim, so it feels like Xiaofeng enabled a bit more into this jungle, even getting a Scuttle Crab here and trying to bridge that 30 CS discrepancy that the game started off on.
Definitely has been the case. Now, EDG is sitting on a Herald, so they could potentially break up this Drake situation by just making the bot lane so far behind that they can't really control that area of the map anymore. Seems like that's exactly what they're doing, and we do have to remember that EDG has very good blue timers onto TT, so I think their game plan is going to be starting some skirmishes here before TT can set up with their full 5-man combo into the river.
Because let's remember, Clement, that Moonstone Renewal being such a cheap item, you know, 2,500 gold, means that the first mythic on board is for Jiejie, so adding the support role, Scout almost caught out the shifting sands over the wall. Xiaofeng has used the Ghost, the Onslaught of Shadows to dive. Shockwave, again, this is what we said. It has to be coordinated, and Twila, where your ball at?
That was very far off from the mark. A little bit unfortunate from that one. And look at the map right now. EDG are instantly going in for the blue buff. They know that you just blew your ultimates. You don't have anything here, and the skirmish is going to be on. I like what EDG are doing right here because I think skirmish is what they want to look for. In full-on 5v5 team fights, they actually have a lot of difficulties reaching the backline in Sam D, and you have to remember, Sam D also has that cleanse on him, so he's going to be very difficult to snipe out, and just pulling things into the skirmish is much more favorable for Edward.
Yeah, right now I'm just kind of enjoying this game because, you know, seeing an Orianna miss a Shockwave is a sign of good things to come. Let's be quite honest, it's the LPL, and things can only get messier from here, Clement, but you know, at the very least, I
prefer my Wombo combos well coordinated and actually on point, but you know, you definitely like something else.
I had a messy breakfast, man. You saw that poached egg, brother. Just went over all the food and smash. Just like that. We give the gold over. Jiejie and Meiko share in the a bit of trade-off, and you can see that across the map, there is actually not too much of a trade-off. TT lose out in a bit more gold, and EDG giving some to core part of their carries.
Yeah, just making sure that bot lane is always pushed in their favor. I do want to take another look at the top lane. We have seen in this matchup, the Aurelia typically does go for Blade of the Ruined King first. It's actually a lot more cost effective against Triforce, and the speed steal at 25%, I believe is it does equal out as being a little bit better than the Triforce overall. So you have more sticking power, you have more sustain that you can heal up all the poke coming in from the Gnar. It does look like we are going to see that item being first picked here. And just taking a look here, I will say that Flandre has actually survived very, very well. He's only down by 2 waves of CS here. Yep. He's not really in range of being solo killed whatsoever. So I have to give this overall strategy a little bit over to Flandre because, you know, the split pushing, it's probably not going to work out.
Okay, well, you know, 5 CS discrepancy right now, and you talk about it not working out. Let's also remember that Jiejie with a bit of a lead and the ability to, you know, shadow and be quite mobile. I also want to remind our audience that, remember, Lilia is a byproduct of Hecarim and Meiko. From...
Is that true? Is that
No, of course not, but I'll make it true because it suits. She, you know, the similarities between Meiko, similarities between Hecarim. You know, a deer's kind of a horse when you think about it in two-dimensional space. So the thing is here, just remember that, you know, the similarities between the two champions, there is a bit of a CS lead and an experience lead. From Jiejie's perspective, he's almost level 11 with the Lilting Lullaby, and we've got an Oblivion Orb. So Morellonomica might be the second item as an interesting choice for Jiejie.
That's an interesting one. Now, he does have a lot of good effects from it coming out against Aurelia.
Close.
Ooh.
Okay.
I felt like Jiejie could sense his father, you know? He's like, oh, Daddy, are you in that brush?
Oh my god, I'm so sorry I brought it up. Meiko's gonna absorb a bit of damage here. Good talk from the Flayers. The showstopper's there. The Haymaker through the middle. The Lilting Lullaby onto 2, but this is a disengage. Viper wasn't in position, and TT almost threatened the play.
Yep, that was a good sneak away from EDG. 3v2 situation. They managed to walk out. Scout's going to have the advantage pushing this wave in, and they're going to have an easier setup onto the Drake. I actually like what TT did there. I think it was the right call, but the execution just didn't follow through. They know that they're actually behind right now in the game, so they want to make a pick before they go into the Drake pick. Unfortunately, doesn't really work out, and that does give Scout the priority coming in from the mid lane. So EDG, full vision, full control over the bot side. It's about TT breaking in now.
And look at where they are. Look at the health bars. TT as well can't just make the trade for the Herald, the second Herald of the game. So they want to challenge this one. The flash in from Teeen, force the flash out from Viper. Double TP, but TT's health bars aren't favorable. The smite comes in way too early, but it is Aphelios who gets it. Sam D securing the dragon could be big, as meanwhile Flandre into the backline, flashes forward, the onslaught of shadows onto Meiko, but everyone from EDG that does damage is free hitting. Flandre sacrifices his life, while meanwhile Chelizi being a bit of a big beefy boy himself. 3 versus 2, Meiko's running with the facebreaker at the ready, the Haymaker down the middle, and Jiejie trying to get the slow down. He spins once to win, autos the second time, and the kill goes down with Sam D, the only remnant left alive. EDG win out the fight.
And I think TT are super happy with that one. Of course, they do trade 1 extra member, but they were behind to begin with anyway, and most importantly, they do keep the dragon stack alive. So the Wombo combo hopes are still there. They don't always have to go into the skirmishes. Now, I think we will get a replay of that fight, but I just want to say that this could definitely have gone a lot better for TT.
Yep.
Their initial combo was pretty botched. We only saw one person being dragged in by the shockwave, and Twila has looked pretty depressing on this champion, let's be honest. They didn't really sync up the ultimates to get multiple members whatsoever. However, Chelizi was a shining spot in that team fight. He was able to 1v3 for a long time and actually kill Scout while there was so much protection around him. That's a sign of good things to come.
The benefit you talked about, the Blade of the Ruined King, right? You know, that first item and the priority it has on this Aurelia. 2-1-1, and the time he kept made it so TT were a competitive figure in that fight. But in the end of the day, EDG getting more kills, getting the turret off the back of it as well, means they're 3,000 gold ahead still at 17 minutes of the game. And while Mythics are coming out for a TT finally, EDG are solidifying theirs and moving on to the second item. Collector now there, as Chelizi is actually being caught out. Base breaker back, and the Collector Kaiser comes in. 4-0-2, Viper doing it again. And TT may have just sacrificed the Herald.
Yeah, very good collapse coming in from EDG. TT were showing their hands a little bit too early. They wanted to group up, get another 5v5, get another chance at the Wombo combo. But EDG, they just punished Chelizi to the max. They know he has to come in with the team. They get the kill, and they're getting everything on the top side.
Out of turret on the top side, mid will be the only one remaining. That Herald can make short work of that. But, you know, I was about to compliment TT. I thought, well, you know, the early game doing well, and the fact that they're managing these objectives, hitting the first item power spike and not being too far behind is something I can't say anymore. I mean, Jiejie's taken over the jungle even further. And we'll have a quick look at the bottom lane fight first.
So EDG are the ones with positional advantage. TT do make a good run on the right side of the map, but I feel like their left side was incredibly botched. They don't get the wombo combo in. Flandre is cutting the rest of the team outside. And just watch this from Chelizi. He's the saving grace, but never mind. We're in the LPL.
What happened? It's a kill to Scout and Flandre.
It's a double.
Lilting Lullaby. It's going to be traded here. Meiko's waiting. Rampage away. No. Viper gets yet another kill. And, you know, in the LPL, we appease the blood gods, don't we, Clement?
Yes, Korn is our father. You know, PP God might be looking after all of us, but Korn is the one we pray to in our soul.
Okay. It's kind of random. I was expecting, like, you know, maybe like Name or something. You know, we go back even further.
There's no analytical point I can make there. You know I'm kind of like autistic. I can't go on to small talk.
You're a beautiful, bright mind. Don't you dare. Look, at the very least, let's be realistic with the audience. EDG fought back on that fight, and yeah, let's have a look at what we missed.
So it looks like TT, after losing the Herald, they do have priority here. They punish Flandre to the maximum. They get the 1 kill, and Scout comes in trying to save the situation, but it definitely wasn't salvageable for him. However, he does get... Oh, wait. Oh, I just noticed that we have a fight in the top 2.
Elite is dead again. Now, this Aurelia, who was playing well in the fights, is getting caught out more times than I can count, and I can only count to 3. So, for TT, their top laner, a huge liability, 45 seconds away from Dragon.
I will say, to sum up the situation, it is TT trying to make very aggressive plays right before the Drake, which I have a huge respect for, but then EDG responding with their members rotating in time. Of course, we don't see the rotations, we don't see the start of the fight, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, we're just making an assumption there. Clement, we've come back to live, and again, I mentioned we're setting up for the Dragon coming up in about 20 seconds. We're on towards the second item for most of the players here across the Rift. Zeal picked up by Sam D, but note, item advantage for Viper, who is giga-fed. You know, that is a mega giga-fed, 21 minutes in. He's huge. And he's got a Zeal on top of the Collector there, so he's a full item up.
And what's so interesting about his lead is that he could very much swap sides in these teamfights. If Flandre finds a crowd control, he doesn't have to worry about the wombo combo coming in from Xiaofeng and Twila. He can actually just ult to the other side of the teamfight. So that's something we have to pay attention to. And I think it would be very much be in favor for EDG if they could split the formation for TT up.
Get the Dragon, though, in the meantime. You know, TT, we're heading towards that Soul. Could have been something for the comp you talked about, scaling better. I don't know if we get a chance, because Viper's in again. Twila, say goodbye to your ball again. Twila goes down, and he's 0, 2, and 4. They just keep finding picks.
Yeah, that was so well done on the side of Viper. I believe he had a slow to start that one off as well. Yes, he did have the red buff, so he was able to tag down Twila, and that's pretty insane when you think about Twila as their main wombo combo piece, just going in. Scout going in, doesn't get anything, has to flash the emote.
Okay, hook onto Meiko, though, meanwhile. He's got a full bar ready for the showstopper and the Haymaker combo. Sun turret set up. Chelizi comes in, clears the wave, and EDG know it's time to back away. So TT blocking any more damage from the inner turret, but we've blinked an eye, or maybe 2, and 6k gold down. Flandre on the bottom side, meanwhile, just having a great time.
I just want to have a pointer to production, is that when Scout makes a play like that, and he emotes, you should definitely swap the cameras to Scout. We need to see his face at that moment, okay? Viper doesn't matter anymore. We need to see Scout's facial.
Thank you, Clement. We'll write that down. Do you have a book handy? Can you write that down in your book? Oh, no. We'll get someone. Is someone...
It was a good attempt. I actually really liked that play. It was a good attempt. I like the humor walking away with the emote.
Yeah, true. Oh, pause. Okay. Well, whatever you did, Clement, you're in trouble.
What? What did I do?
You don't talk to production ever, okay? How dare you? Well, ladies and gentlemen, while we're replacing Clement Chu, we'll just have a bit of a chat here in the post-game screen. TT are down about 5,500 gold. Flandre was side pushing, and you know, things are looking good for EDG. This gives us a good time to explain the comps a little bit further. Clement, you did mention that there is going to, you know, be this point where TT do outscale, especially with the 4-1 setup and Irelia, but you know, there is still good scaling on EDG, so I want you to tell me a little bit more.
I thought you said I was fired.
Oh, no.
I'll go into it.
I need you, brother. I don't care. I'll take the bullet.
There were a couple caveats to that, and I think the most important thing for the 4-1 is you actually have to have pressure on your side lane. And that's not been the case because EDG has been able to keep both of their side lane towers up. The worst case situation for Flandre is he just sits underneath his tower, he loses some CS, but it's no big deal, and they don't have to send 2 members to actually deal with the Aurelia in the side lane split push. So without that, it means that EDG can actually just put a 4-man stack into the mid lane and actually contest the rest of the members of TT. The scaling point I was mentioning for the Orianna and the Hecarim was under the condition that EDG had to send 2 people top lane to deal with the Aurelia, who would be ahead in most situations. Okay. This isn't really the case. Chelizi has been picked off multiple times. I think Flandre is completely fine, especially with his outer turret still intact. So the situation we're going to see right now is I think it's just going to be a slow peel away from EDG. Once they hit that maybe 8k mark or a little bit more right now, they're going to go straight into the Baron, force this team composition of TT to walk into them, and TT aren't really a composition that wants to walk into people. They're much better at peeling. They want to be on the backhand. They're not going to have that option if the Baron and the river control is under control of EDG. So I think that's how the game is going to play out.
Because if it was a little bit more even, you know, like the turn from EDG wouldn't be as severe, right? Like we did talk about their engage and we talked about how their comp likes the front to back, but they can just turn off a Baron on a whim and pretty much end the game right there. So TT have limited options. And this man on your screen, Xiaofeng, I mean, he hasn't had the greatest return in 2021. He was pitted as a top 3 jungler on Sino Dragon. You remember, Clement? Remember when he first came in? This was one of the best junglers and the growing junglers in the league.
Yeah, it was pretty fun for him, but something definitely happened on his tenure during Dominus Gaming, where Xiaofeng felt like he fell off quite a bit. We saw Bless come in instead. And I think we also saw some games where... Oh, no, that was on Top Esports. I was thinking if Aki ever subbed in for him, but I'm sure Bless did. Now, Chelizi, once again, might be caught.
Lucky, all right. Dodges away from the swell seed. Otherwise, probably would have been caught out again. Over pushing these lanes, something that we've, seen him do quite a lot. Even though he's ahead of Flandre, it might not matter too much. As we come back into live, thank you for waiting with us, ladies and gentlemen. Just note the builds that we're seeing. 2 items pretty much across the board. 3 on Viper with the Renan's Hurricane. The Chem Tank, first mythic here on the set supports. So Meiko going to be pretty fast. And just note as well, we got a Zhonya second for Jiejie. Clement, I want to point out that we don't really see the Staff of Flowing Water combination build. The LPL is like that bubble, and everyone kind of builds the same way and doesn't really listen to the outside world.
Well, there aren't really any champions here to build it on. You really need an Enchantress to kind of go for the build here.
Also true.
I'm not particularly surprised given these champions.
You have a Azir, I guess, right?
Yeah, you do have an Azir,
okay,
but
you do.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I'd be more comfortable diving into the subject when it's actually like somewhat relevant with the champions.
That's fair. Hey,
but
something to bring up, right? Because especially since hang on, Viper.
Oh, wait a minute,
he started to get onto Chelizi, flashes away. This guy likes his R button.
That was a really good snipe coming in from him. He knows he's fed enough. And this is the point about Chelizi. Even though he's on the split-pushing champion, he's never being left alone. Like, EDG just have too much control over the map where they can send constant 2-mans into him. And even with the sustained build, even with the actually the item lead here, he's not able to get anything done. And I just want to talk about EDG's build a little bit. This is a very, very high damage build. It's very quick at taking Barons. You can definitely see with the Nashor's Tooth coming out. Yep. Meiko might be stuck, though.
No. He's found a great engage, actually. Onslaught of Shadows into the backline. Death Sentence lands as well. Jiejie goes golden meanwhile, but look at Viper coming in. Has to be exhausted while Jiejie running out with his flash. A one-man sleep comes through. Scout bops against the wall. Chelizi's suddenly dead. Heat 2 will press his golden button as the ult from Aphelios flies through, and Sam D can turn the fight, but not until Viper flashes into a Death Sentence. Does he care, though? He's too fed. W for the triple kill, misses, but it's cleaned up by Flandre. And EDG tore that fight to pieces.
Complete ace on the side of EDG coming in, and once more, they're able to dance away from the wombo combos. Jiejie using his W to get out of the Dauntless Vanguard coming in from Chelizi, and just taking a look at the wombo combo we've been talking about, the ball delivery system for Xiaofeng, that never found Viper. Viper was completely untouched, and he's sitting on 7 kills, allowed to unload on TT.
Man, this is why we're talking about the LPL returning to that peak of AD carries. Viper is one of the big reasons. as we look at EDG, you know, you mentioned that Meiko might be caught out here, but they turned it in their favor.
Yeah, Meiko survives for far too long, and I think Xiaofeng actually uses his ultimate a little bit early. Jiejie is not the main one you have to pay attention to. They even use Aurelia's ultimate for that, and Viper is just untouched. He's willing to go in. He still has his killer instincts. He's been sitting on this back line the entire time, and there's no threat anymore. Once that Orianna goes down, he flashes in, so, you know, good prediction from Teeen, but it's not enough to salvage.
Fancy little side steps, right? You know, Viper kind of flashed into that one, but it doesn't matter. He pushes back. He doesn't get hit by the Calibrum. And EDG, you notice that Jiejie W'd to get out of the Vanguard's edge. Well spotted, Clement, because that was also crucial. EDG players individually are coming up clutch, and they move into these team fighting settings and these skirmishes, and they do even better. They're at 9,000 gold in the lead at 27 minutes in. We've got double Mountain on the board with a Baron buff on Scout, on Flandre, who are going to start pushing in these sides.
And here's the EDG test. Has Scout actually changed? The answer is yes. He is reformed. He's not dying to those Fnatic brushes anymore. Does a good checkup, and TT's play kind of fizzles.
Yep, now Baron minions coming in, and the wave clear there, but still with the Baron minions, it takes a bit of time with the lack of damage there for TT. Two-man Lilting Lullaby at the ready, but they're going to wait. Next wave, sure to come in about 10 seconds. Remember, Baron, a minute to go, and Flandre's left alone on a turret.
Pushing here, already has a BF sword for his GA. He's going to be taking these turrets down incredibly fast. And we see the 1-3-1 spread coming out from EDG. The key thing to remember right here is Viper could actually collapse on any of these side lanes in an instant. Yeah. So TT without vision on Viper, they're very scared.
They've engaged on him, but he still has... Oh, no, he's used a killer instinct before onto Xiaofeng. They flash forward with the dissonance. Xiaofeng almost goes down until the showstopper down. Meiko will trade 1 for 1, but Viper... It took a lot of members to kill him.
Like, that was the entirety of the Wombo combo from TT, and they still nearly died to Viper 1v2. That's just how far ahead the Kaisa is at that point. He does fall down. They get the 1,000 shutdown gold onto Xiaofeng, I believe. But in the meantime, EDG, they do take away the top lane tower for their troubles.
Well, 1,000 gold feels nice, but we're going to have to see that a couple more times, especially since, you know, Viper has a stopwatch with an Infinity Edge now picked up. He's pretty much full build until that turns into a potential GA. So, for Viper, he's still going to be quite huge, and EDG is still going to be in control of these fights. 3 minutes to the next dragon, but, you know, the Baron buff, I'm going to be looking towards that in another 3 minutes as well. Timers line up.
Yeah, and I think TT, what we've seen from their team fights is they've been acting very impatient. I think the way that they should actually play these out, but of course, let's watch this. Oh, Viper actually goes in blind and finds a bunch of members, but Twila still can't land his ultimate. I just want to see this ball delivery system actually work once. We actually have not seen Xiaofeng going in with the shockwave and finding the backline at all this game.
You know, Twila's been suboptimal, to say the least. And even though Scout's been caught out a couple of times, definitely been the better mid laner. So, I'm just kind of waiting for this next moment. This next kick-off that Viper lands with his W. Sandy has to dodge that one, even with Teeen nearby. Now that he has jungle pressure, Viper's going to go in, and pings are going towards the top side. Trying to pull TT up to this open inhibitor.
Twila Xiaofeng were going for another death brush in the bottom lane, but EDG calls their bluff. So, they are very slow on the rotation, and I think it most likely will cost them the inhibitor.
There it goes down. And that'll set up nicely for the Baron side to push in. And it's just slow and methodical here for EDG. Just waiting to kind of end the game. And ladies and gentlemen, let's be quite honest, 30 minutes in. If TT win this game, it's going to be a stroke of miracles in a row against EDG.
Well, miracles can happen as Xiaofeng goes in.
Okay, Shirelli is used into the support of Meiko. Meanwhile, Xiaofeng goes in the backline, but Viper pretty much takes no damage. Scout pops them into a row as there's the Lilting Lullaby. It's kind of like a 9-man sleep that we remember from Worlds, but still EDG walking forward. TT with low health bars. Jiejie gets a slow once more. Killer Instinct was available. Viper chooses not to go in, or at least it was on a short enough cooldown that it's now up. So, Clement, don't know what happened there, but the game goes on.
I love that play from TT. They just called EDG's bluff. Even though the Sun Disc was up in the mid lane, Flandre was in a side lane split pushing, so they knew they had the numbers advantage, and they were willing to take it home. However, I don't think the kill itself is necessarily enough, and we do have to take stock of the summoner situation here. So just looking at Xiaofeng and Chelizi, their engaged tools are going to be fairly limited into the next one. I think the best way that TT should engage this Baron is actually stay up on top of the ramp. They have very good tools with the box to kind of keep EDG out of their own jungle, and then just try to do a steal with Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng can use his ultimate, he can get over the wall, but that's as much as you're going to invest into this play.
Yep. Baron now up, Dragon up as well. TT just getting their waves in order. You can see Twila doing the same. He has teleport so he can join the play himself. Hoping to get towards that Morellonomicons, but actually just went out for a flat-out Zhonya's. So Twila now with 3 items. Whether that's relevant or not, as Dragon's getting taken here. Scout clearing up vision towards the top side, and EDG looking to take all these objectives to just lead down the path of victory.
And here is Xiaofeng's moment to shine. We have to remember, they might not be able to find the Shockwave plus Onslaught of Shadows combination onto any of the backlines from EDG, but they should be able to hit it against Baron. And that still does a lot more damage than Smite. So this is TT's chance. However, they did give up the ramp a little bit too early. They do have defensive tools, but giving up the ramp is very detrimental to their comp.
They have to walk back, and even the vision getting cleared as Xiaopeng walks up himself. Meiko is the threat as Flandre is back over the wall, and EDG not interested in starting the Baron. They want to see Xiaopeng, they want to take him down, and then just secure it easily. Jiejie also looking for that multi-man sleepers. We might just return again with vision now fully cleared, and the Baron's going to go down really fast.
Yep. Like I mentioned, TT should stay on their side of the jungle. They shouldn't go down. They're in too much of a detriment right now. So just try to hold the ramp, wait until the Baron is low, and chance for the steal.
Viper's tag. Teen goes for the death sentence, sets up the Shurelya's once again. Meiko running in, flashes burn immediately. Showstopper in the backline, and Viper finds the mark. The face breaker hits 3 people, and it's sleepy sleep time for TT. Just like TT, Clement, they're going to drop this one, and EDG are going to run it into the base.
I'm like TT as well. EDG able to go across the ramp. They completely read TT's play, and they go to the backline with Viper. You know, Samdi had a great game this entire time, but at the end of the day, the other Korean AD carry just was too fed, and he crushes TT dreams and hopes.
Viper looking damn good. Just the usual, what we've been saying every EDG game. Another win on the board.